Welcome to another smartphone camera comparison. I'm Olive, your host here at Versus, and today we've got a little competition going on between the Google Pixel 8 Pro, the OnePlus 12, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This video is kindly sponsored by OnePlus, but as always, we will be giving you our 100% honest opinion. As always, we're going to start with standard wide mode, as we feel that's the mode people use most frequently. In this first photo, the iPhone is looking really great with nice saturation, and the shadows are lifted enough so that you can still make out details on my dark clothing. The OnePlus also has solid saturation and good exposure. As always, the Pixel looks very natural but a tad too dark for my liking, and the Galaxy is looking, well, quite awful actually. Terrible yellow tint, overexposure in the sky, and an overall dull look. At first glance, all of these photos look almost identical, but after close inspection, the Galaxy and the Pixel seem to have a sharper image with a slightly lower contrast, which has in return given Max's hair more detail and texture, which we love. The Pixel has a more intense background blur, whereas the Galaxy is more subtle, and here's where Max and I could not agree, because he's loving the Pixel, whereas I think the Galaxy has done best here. The OnePlus and the iPhone have also given us great images that are totally usable, but for me personally, the contrast is a little too high, and there's a slight blur on Max, losing a few details here and there. The OnePlus 12 is really coming through here. Check out that great exposure, and the color accuracy is superb, helping the image look very natural. The iPhone is a little less saturated with a slight blue tint, but it's also got decent exposure. Although the Galaxy has extremely high contrast, I still prefer it to the Pixel, as the Pixel's shadows are far too heightened, and the colors extremely muted, making the whole image lackluster. Initially, I was drawn to the OnePlus here. However, although I do love the warm tone and vibrant colors, I do think the image is a little too overexposed, losing slight details, particularly in my face. The iPhone has achieved the most natural looking image with a decent amount of exposure, ensuring the shadows are controlled. The Pixel and the Galaxy are far too dim, with the Galaxy having very harsh shadows all over me. So it's now time for ultra-wide photos, which are really great for capturing more of the scenery in, like the staircase, for example. I'm finding this first set of photos challenging to compare, as I do think all of these images are equally good. It really comes down to personal preference. The Galaxy and the iPhone are definitely on the more saturated side, whilst the Pixel and the OnePlus are looking a lot more muted, which I personally prefer. To me, they look more natural, but as I said, it's down to personal preference, so it's going to have to be a draw. Again, in this next photo, I think it would be unfair to say that one photo is a lot better than the other, as they all look very similar. There are only very slight color variations and subtle exposure differences, and I'd say that the Pixel and the Galaxy perhaps performed a tiny bit better due to the contrast being slightly lower, ensuring details on me are more visible, whereas the OnePlus and the iPhone have a higher contrast, which does lose some of those details, particularly noticeable in my face and clothing. In this next photo, we can instantly see that the OnePlus has struggled with the white balance, which has resulted in an overly green hue. The iPhone definitely has the best color accuracy and has also exposed the image well, ensuring we get that nice natural look. It's difficult to see a major difference between the Galaxy and the Pixel, but I'd say the Galaxy has a more vibrant look with its popping colors and good exposure. The Pixel does seem to have a bit of a duller tint. Okay, this was a tough one. I was really torn between the Pixel and the iPhone, which I know are completely different, but hear me out. The iPhone has such nice deep contrast with an all-over warm hue, which makes my skin tone look good, but the Pixel has the most accurate coloring and does look extremely natural. However, at the same time, it looks a tiny bit muted and dull. The OnePlus and the Galaxy have a green hue, particularly strong on the OnePlus, which just isn't ideal. Overall, I think I have to give the win to the iPhone, but this wasn't an easy round, and let me know what you think, as I would absolutely love to hear your opinion. So now we're on to portrait mode, which is one of my faves. So let's see which one of these has the best edge detection. I think it's pretty clear that the iPhone takes first place here. Its edge detection is almost perfect, as it was able to preserve every little strand of hair. It also looks very natural and sharp. it's a tough choice between the OnePlus and the Samsung as they're both equally having problems. Edge detection is terrible on the Galaxy and the saturation is far too high, whereas the OnePlus has slightly more realistic coloring, but unfortunately it's not quite there as it's going down the blue instead of black route. It's also not a sharp image, but I'd still rather go for that photo than what the Galaxy has produced. Alright, these results are kind of all over the place. The iPhone for sure takes the best edge detection, but it's generally a dull looking photo, leaving me looking very washed out and gray. The Galaxy may not have the best edge detection and it is slightly overexposed in the background, but I have to say that out of all of these results, it's looking the most attractive. However, I know so many of you will probably disagree with me and say it's way too saturated, so the iPhone still takes first place for most natural looking. Although the Pixel looks very natural with good color accuracy, its clarity is quite high, giving the image a slight pixelated look. The edge detection is also shocking. Check out my missing hairpiece on top and also my zipper area. Yikes. All devices have done pretty well with the edge detection on this next one. When it comes to coloring, I'd say the OnePlus and the iPhone are the most accurate. However, the OnePlus is slightly overexposed, whereas the iPhone has better dynamic range, specifically noticeable in the lights behind me. The Galaxy has done a decent job, but could have been a little less warm and with a little higher contrast. Not sure what is going on with the white balance on the Pixel, but it's way off. Finally, in this close-up, once again, the iPhone has the most successful edge detection. Just look at how it's managed to capture all those tiny hairs on my head. However, I do love the overall image coming from the OnePlus. Its warm tone and bright exposure definitely make it stand out, resulting in a great photo. The Galaxy is almost perfect, however, its edge detection has quite a harsh cutoff around me, which looks a little unnatural. The Pixel isn't terrible, but the colors are a bit too muted, making the image look slightly washed out. However, it does have a nice sharpness, but sadly poor edge detection.
It's time to test out videos, which are so important because, hey, you want to have the best video quality possible on your smartphone.
In this first video, the Pixel has the most natural looking results with great color accuracy, sufficient exposure, and a good amount of contrast. Although the OnePlus is a tad overexposed, losing some details specifically in the sky, I still think it's given us a decent video. The iPhone has also come out quite natural looking, however, it's given us a very blue hue, making the entire video seem cold and a little dull. The Galaxy has done okay, but it's too dim with the contrast far too high, which is creating unwanted shadows. Instantly, I'm noticing the flickering of the lights happening on the iPhone. That's a shame because the video is otherwise pretty decent. The Galaxy takes the win here as the colors are popping nicely and it's maintained a great amount of exposure and contrast throughout. It's a tough call between the OnePlus and the Pixel as the OnePlus has extremely high contrast, which leaves things looking very pasty, but on the other hand, the Pixel has quite low contrast, which leaves things looking muted, blurred, and, well, a little dull. In the end, it's personal preference, and in this case, it's a tie. In ultrawide video outdoors, the OnePlus and the Galaxy give off a similar look as they both have a warmer tone with a nice deep contrast, whereas the Pixel and the iPhone give off more of a bluer hue with a lower contrast. Personally, I prefer the deep blacks with the warmer tones, but overall, all of these videos are completely usable. Indoors, we got some interesting results. The Galaxy and the iPhone have both performed quite well, with the iPhone having the wider framing, but nevertheless, the Galaxy looks really good too. They've both managed to maintain all the details in the video. Unfortunately, the OnePlus has struggled with coloring as there is a slight green tint to the video. The exposure is also far too high as details in the sky and parts of the building are missing. The Pixel's white balance is completely off and it's gone down a very horrible yellow route. The combo with the deep contrast, oof, it's a killer.
So it is time to go for a little run and test out the stabilization on all of these devices. I'm also going to turn on active stabilization afterwards and see which one's the winner. Let's go running.
So starting off with regular stabilization, I have to say that I'm pretty impressed with how the iPhone is handling the shake from my running. It's looking very smooth, but the Galaxy is also doing a pretty adequate job. I'd say that the Pixel and the OnePlus perform similarly as they both have an equal amount of shake to the videos. With active stabilization on, the iPhone and the Galaxy continue to perform exceptionally well with such ease and smoothness. This is really impressive for a smartphone. It seems that between the Pixel and the OnePlus is struggling slightly more with frequent shaking and distortion. However, although the Pixel is smoother, it does have a strange swaying from side to side as the device struggles to maintain a center line.
Selfie time, my favorite time. Let's see which one of these can take the best selfie. And whilst we're at it, let's also see which one has the best front camera video and audio.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of disappointed that none of these devices have given me a good selfie. I suppose the iPhone has the most natural results with the best color accuracy, but I really wish the contrast was a little higher. The Pixel's contrast, on the other hand, is way too high, creating really dark shadows around my eyes. The Galaxy has oversaturated my features and failed to provide enough contrast whilst heightening the shadows far too much. And the OnePlus has really struggled with the white balance as the image is far too warm, but not in a good way. My teeth are screaming for teeth whitener. Indoors under artificial light, I'm glad to see that the results are slightly better. I'm going to have to give this one to the Pixel as the selfie has come out looking very nice and natural. The Galaxy has done what the Galaxy does best, and it's given us this pinkish warm hue, but nevertheless the image isn't bad. Although the OnePlus has a nice deep contrast and the color of my jacket is looking very vibrant, it has an intense green hue which is really killing the photo. The iPhone also struggles with the same green hue, only slightly softer. I can't believe how bad all of these night selfies have come out. Literally every single one is blurry. I'd say the OnePlus stands out from the rest as it's exposed the best and it's also giving a nice warm glow to my skin. However, I really cannot choose between the rest as they're all very mediocre. Moving on to front camera video, initially all of the devices look great when I'm standing at a distance. However, the closer I move to the camera, it becomes clear that the iPhone has the best looking video. It's got great coloring, exposure, and a nice strong sharpness while still looking very natural.
So here we have the built-in audio coming from the Google Pixel 8 Pro. How am I sounding? Moving on to the OnePlus 12, how is the built-in audio on this bad boy? Then we've got the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. How's the built-in audio on this one? I'm very interested to see these soon. And then finally we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it sounding here?
Audio was a tricky one as I find all of them quite different, but as always I have to say that the Samsung just seems to have the best built-in microphones. It has really great noise cancellation abilities, so my voice is nice and clear, whilst background noise is very minimal. The iPhone also does a decent job, followed by the OnePlus, and unfortunately I found the Pixel to have the worst noise cancellation, making my voice seem slightly distant and not as clear.
Slow motion. Which one has the best slow motion? Let's find out.
In this first round, we set all the devices to shoot at 240 FPS in full high definition. All of the devices delivered smooth results, with the iPhone looking the most natural, followed by the Pixel. The Galaxy's contrast is quite harsh, as well as its clarity, which just isn't looking so great, whereas the OnePlus has very low contrast, which is leaving it looking a little too pasty and it's not as sharp as the rest. We then decided to test only the Galaxy and the OnePlus, as they both have unique features, such as the OnePlus being able to shoot at 480 FPS in HD, and the Galaxy being able to shoot at 120 FPS in 4K. Of course, the Galaxy looks better resolution-wise, but for some, the option to shoot in 480 FPS may be something you find convenient to have handy on your device. Both phones get 1 extra point for their special features. For this zoom test, we opted to evaluate the telephoto capabilities of each of these devices in comparison. First, we had all of the devices at 3x zoom, apart from the iPhone being at 2x zoom, and I have to say it has given us the sharpest image. The OnePlus and the Pixel are also looking nice and sharp. Next, we have all devices set to 5x zoom, apart from the OnePlus at 6x zoom. Instantly, we notice that the OnePlus has a different color tone to the rest of the images. The iPhone remains the sharpest, with the Pixel following right behind. Next, we decided to try out the test one more time on a different building. Again, we started with all of the devices on 3x zoom, apart from the iPhone on 2x zoom. I have to say, the OnePlus is looking really nice here. The coloring is once again slightly off, but it has great sharpness. The iPhone and the Pixel have also delivered great results as they've got good color accuracy and are sharp. It seems that the Galaxy has the least sharpness out of all four. Next, when all devices are at 5x zoom, apart from the OnePlus at 6x zoom, I'd say that they all perform equally well, apart from the Galaxy being a little less sharp.
Fascinating. I love macro photos. Let's see which one of these is the most detailed and precise.
In this first round, I'm definitely left slightly disappointed as neither device managed to give good results. Although it's not fully sharp, the iPhone has at least given us some amount of sharpness and also decent color accuracy. Samsung's white balance is completely off, the Pixel looks okay but could be sharper, and unfortunately the OnePlus is the blurriest out of them all. Keep in mind that I took several photos on all of these devices and they constantly kept coming out blurry. Okay, but the OnePlus has redeemed itself in this next photo. Just look at those nice details and sharpness. The color accuracy is also on point. The Pixel has done an okay job, but it's showing a lot of blur around the edges. The iPhone's white balance is off and it's giving off a very blue hue, which isn't ideal. However, it is looking very sharp. And the Galaxy is unfortunately very blurry with only slight sharpness towards the top of the image. Finally, in this last image of a tree, the Pixel has nailed it with such great detail and sharpness. However, it does have a slight blur towards the bottom of the photo. The iPhone has almost perfect sharpness with just some minor blur around the edges as well. The OnePlus has done a decent job, but unfortunately the photo is a little overexposed with the clarity being a bit too high, which makes the image look slightly unnatural and lose some of its details. Sadly, the Galaxy has a massive blur on the bottom half of the photo, and in my opinion, it's not really usable. Lastly, let's take a look at some night photos and see how these devices perform in low light conditions. Alright, so the OnePlus is looking pretty good. It has gone slightly more warm than the others. However, it's got a nice deep contrast, very little noise, and an overall good result. The Galaxy has also done a decent job, but has gone more in the direction of cooler tones and dimmer exposure. Unfortunately, both the Pixel and the iPhone struggled in almost identical ways. They both have the most noise present, and the contrast is far too low. Can you also see those tiny dots and reflections of the restaurant sign? Not ideal, is it? In this next photo, all of the devices performed equally well, and all of these images are completely usable. There are only slight color and exposure variations, but I'd say it's a draw. Okay, so in ultra-wide night photos, the Pixel is for sure overexposed, it isn't sharp, and it has a lens flare in the sky. The iPhone has gone very green and has a spotlight from above that looks like aliens are coming to get us. Although the Galaxy has come out nice and sharp, there is unfortunately far too much noise in the sky and in the building on the left. Otherwise, I do like its color tones. The OnePlus has once again done a good job at maintaining a deep contrast in the sky, avoiding excessive noise. Sadly, the image isn't very sharp, but I still think it beats the rest. This is a tricky one, as at first glance, all of the images look almost identical. But after further inspection, I noticed that the iPhone has the best dynamic range. The screen at the back of the room is fully visible with the right amount of exposure. The OnePlus has come out quite yellow, but the rest of the details of the room are maintained well. The Galaxy and the Pixel have struggled the most, with the Pixel even looking slightly blurry. In low-light portrait mode, all of the devices have done great at edge detection. It's practically seamless on all four photos. The Galaxy and the iPhone have both done a good job with ensuring I'm lit well without any harsh shadows visible. Now, it's up to personal preference whether you prefer your photos warmer or cooler toned. One of the key upgrades of the OnePlus 12 is what OnePlus calls a new raw HDR algorithm. What does that mean? Usually when we talk about HDR, it's about taking several shots at different exposure levels and stitching them together for that perfect photo. But the OnePlus 12 is a bit smarter than that. It analyzes the scene and understands elements like human faces, enabling it to adjust the lighting and shadows in a way that aims to capture images with better depth and texture, closer to what the human eye would see in real life. How do you like it? However, the Pixel exhibits extremely low contrast, leading to a muted image with color tones that appear significantly inaccurate. In this next portrait photo, when it comes to edge detection, the iPhone and the OnePlus have the best results. The OnePlus has turned out a bit too warm looking, but I still think it's not a bad image. It has nice deep contrast and good exposure. The Galaxy is the most similar to the outcome of the iPhone, however its edge detection is a bit too harsh, making it come off as a little unnatural. The Pixel looks okay. Nothing special, but nothing awful either. Now let's take a look at how all of the devices perform when they are challenged with videos at night and in low light conditions. Starting with wide video, I honestly think all of the phones have done a good job. Apart from minor color, exposure, and contrast variations, all of the results are equally decent and 100% usable. Ultra-wide video is where things get challenging. To be honest, none of these videos look very good, with the OnePlus being exceptionally blurry, especially the entire top half of the video. The Galaxy and the Pixel have given almost identical results, which consist of quite a bit of noise, specifically in the dark sky. The iPhone by all means isn't great, but it seems to have the best dynamic range and the least amount of noise. So finally, let's summarize each category and see who the winners are. For standard photos, the iPhone comes in first place, followed by the OnePlus in second place, the Pixel in third place, and the Galaxy in last place. Next we have ultra-wide photos, where the iPhone takes first place again, followed by a draw between the Pixel and the Galaxy, leaving the OnePlus in last place. In portrait mode, the iPhone takes yet another win, then comes the OnePlus, followed by the Galaxy, and unfortunately the Pixel has ended up in last place. In videos using the back cameras, the Galaxy takes first place, followed by a draw between all the rest. When it comes to stabilization, the iPhone takes first place once again, followed by the Galaxy, the Pixel, and in last place comes the OnePlus. For the front camera, the Galaxy takes first place, then comes the iPhone, followed by the Pixel, and then the OnePlus. When it comes to audio, the Galaxy continues to take first place, followed by the iPhone, and then comes the OnePlus with the Pixel in last place. The iPhone wins the zoom category, then comes the Pixel, followed by the OnePlus, and lastly, the Galaxy. Slow-mo goes to the iPhone, while the other three phones draw in second place. In macro photos, the Pixel and the iPhone draw in first place, with the OnePlus coming in second place, leaving the Galaxy in last place. Finally, in night photos and videos, the iPhone takes first place, then comes the Galaxy, with the OnePlus right behind with only 1 point less, and in last place comes the Pixel. So that pretty much sums up these different phones. We hope you found this review useful, and we would love to hear your thoughts. Which one would you choose? Definitely let us know in the comments down below. Check out the links in our description to order the OnePlus 12, and as always, give this video a big like if you enjoyed it, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't already to join our Versus community. With that being said, we'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care.